Hey, if you're finding something meaningful in these weekly episodes, check out Comment Down Deeper, as you'll also get access to the morning affirmations. 2 minutes of morning affirmations every weekday to encourage you to put the first foot on the floor out of bed. Check it out at commentdownpodcast.com and look for Deeper. Let me guess. You are the person who still cringes at something you said years ago. It doesn't happen every day. Most days, life is busy enough that the memory stays where it belongs. Then, out of nowhere, you're driving home from work or standing in the shower or reaching for a carton of milk at the grocery store, and your mind quietly says, "Hey, remember that?" The conversation, the meeting, the argument, the goodbye, the joke that didn't quite land, or the moment you misunderstood, the thing you said that came out wrong. And somehow, years later, you're embarrassed all over again. Not because anyone else remembered, because you did. I mean, it's fascinating, right? I mean, really, of all the memories your mind could choose to keep polished, and chooses that one. Why? Not birthdays, not passwords, not phone numbers, oh my gosh, not where you left your keys, but somehow it has perfect recall for a conversation that lasted 6 minutes on a Tuesday 3 years ago. And almost immediately, the editing begins, right? Well, I should have said, or what I meant was, or maybe if I could do it again. I mean, we become brilliant writers after the story has already gone to print. Am I alone in this? Let's dive in. I'm Chad Lawson, and let's comment down in 3, 2, 1. So, honest thought here. I don't think we replay conversations because we're trying to win them. At least, not most of the time. I think we're trying to rescue something. Hear me out. I think we're trying to rescue something, and it's usually ourselves. The version of us that stumbled, that froze, that didn't know what to say, that said too much or maybe not enough. Somewhere along the way, we quietly decided that if we could just find the perfect sentence, we could finally make peace with what happened. As though the right words have been sitting just out of reach all this time. As though closure is just, a better draft away. But have you ever noticed something? That even when you finally think of exactly what you wish you'd said, it doesn't actually change how you feel. I mean, for a moment, maybe, sure. You think, there it is. That's what I needed. But the relief, I don't know, just a quick fix. It doesn't ever last. Here's why. Because it was never really about the sentence. It was about the person who said the first one. Are you listening? I mean, when I was young, I believed wisdom worked backwards, right? That once I learned something, I should always know it. Maybe you've done this too. You look back at yourself from 5 years ago and you wonder, oh my gosh, you wonder how you missed something that feels so obvious now. How could I not have seen it? Or why did I stay? Or why did I say that? Or why didn't I leave sooner? Or why didn't I speak up? And all the questions. But that's such an unfair bargain, right? You're asking yesterday's version of yourself to possess today's understanding. I'm going to say that again. When you do this, you're asking yesterday's version of yourself to possess today's understanding. You're asking someone who hadn't yet lived the next 5 years to somehow borrow the lessons from them. That's impossible. Of course they didn't know. They hadn't become you yet. I mean, imagine reading the first chapter of a novel and then getting angry because the main character hasn't learned what happens in chapter 12. You wouldn't, right? I mean, in fact, if they already knew everything, there wouldn't be much of a story. Because growth only looks obvious looking backwards. Living it never feels that way. Yet somehow, when the story belongs to us, we expect the first draft to read like the finished book. We forget that experience is a terrible thing to possess ahead of time. It only arrives afterward. And guess what? It's always afterward. I mean, I wonder how much of our shame comes from confusing ignorance with failure. Right? I mean, those aren't the same thing. Not knowing is not the same as choosing poorly. It's a big difference. Sometimes you simply hadn't learned yet. Sometimes you hadn't healed yet. Sometimes you hadn't become the person who would eventually know what to do. And that doesn't make the earlier version of you foolish. It just makes them earlier. There's a difference. One deserves criticism, the other deserves compassion. So let's gently rewrite one thing today. Not the conversation, not the memory, just the way you speak to the person inside of it. Because if someone you loved came to you and said, "I did the best I knew how to do 5 years ago," I don't think your first response would be, "Well, that wasn't a good idea." You'd probably say, "Yeah, of course you did." And then you would remind them how much life has happened since then, how much you've learned, how many mistakes become teachers. Oh, say that again. How many mistakes become teachers? How many closed doors eventually protected them, right? You would never demand perfection from someone who is still becoming. So why is your younger self the only exception? Why are they the only person who is not allowed to be unfinished? Here's something I've been learning. The second draft, it's not for the conversation. The conversation's over, right? The people have gone home, life kept moving. The second draft is for your relationship with the person that you used to be. Every time you revisit that memory, you have a choice. You can become the prosecutor, or you can become the witness. Now, one of those asks, "How could you?" And the other quietly says, "I understand why you did it." One keeps the trial going, the other finally lets everyone leave the courtroom, including you. So, here's your practice this week. The next time one of those old conversations comes knocking, don't rush to rewrite it. Instead, picture the version of yourself who is standing in it. Maybe they were scared, maybe they were overwhelmed, maybe they were trying far harder than anyone around them realized. Maybe they simply didn't know what life would eventually teach them. But before you edit their words, thank them for surviving long enough to become the person doing the editing. It's a big deal, because without that imperfect conversation, without that awkward moment or that mistake, you would not possess the wisdom you are now using against them. The lesson and the embarrassment, they came from the same place. One doesn't exist without the other. Maybe growing isn't becoming someone who never needs a second draft. Maybe it's finally realizing that every first draft belonged exactly where it did. Not because it was perfect, but because it was honest for the person you were at the time. And that person, imperfect as they were, kept walking. They kept learning. They kept becoming. Until one ordinary day, Years later, they found themselves listening to a podcast that reminded them of something they'd almost forgotten. You don't owe your younger self perfection. You owe them gratitude. They got you here. They got you here. So sure, you still think about the conversations that ended years ago, not because you're trying to win them, but because you're trying to rescue the person who lived through them. But yesterday's version of you didn't have today's wisdom. They couldn't. So this week, when an old memory finds you, resist the urge to rewrite the conversation. Instead, thank the person who carried you through it. They were never meant to know everything. They were only meant to become you. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for living. And until next time, be kind to your mind and join me again as we calm it down. To find more episodes of Calm It Down, see where I may be appearing in your area, or just simply want to know where to send me some chocolate chip cookies, visit calmitdownpodcast.com. This podcast was written and produced by yours truly, Chad Lawson, composer, pianist, and nationally recognized Sweet Tooth. The views, expressions, and techniques in this episode are of my personal opinion and not intended, nor should they, serve as a substitute for medical advice or diagnosis rendered to you by your individual doctor or other healthcare provider. Only a licensed physician should evaluate your situation, provide a diagnosis, or render other medical advice to you, and you should only act upon the advice of this physician. Now, I'm an extreme empath by nature, but my profession is that of a composer and pianist, not a licensed therapist or physician. I hear from thousands of listeners how my music has helped them through various stages of emotional needs, and I simply want to offer this in future podcast episodes to aid those needs. So to find a list of licensed professionals in your area, please visit calmitdownpodcast.com. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review, or better yet, share it with a friend. While it takes less than 60 seconds to do, its impact will last for years to come, as every little bit helps in growing the awareness and the importance of mental and emotional health. Thank you for listening. Thank you for living. And until next time, be kind to your mind and join me again as we calm it down.